Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome to another edition of Inside Arsenal. It is Thursday. I hope wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world, you're having a very, very good start to your day or end to your day, depending on where you're watching this. And I'm sure you probably are. Anyway, after what we all witnessed last night at the Emirates, 6-0, Arsenal running out comfortable winners in the Champions League against Lens to not only book their spot as group winners of Group B and go through to the knockout stages, but do it in such convincing style that I think pretty much the whole of Europe would have probably sat up and take notice of exactly what was going on at the Emirates. We've all been worrying about Arsenal's attack, discussing Arsenal's attack, how they're struggling to create chances and score goals. Well, I think we saw when teams don't park the bus, put 10 players behind the ball, we saw just how destructive this Arsenal team can be last night, and they were very, very destructive indeed. So plenty to talk about. We'll look at some of the big talking points from that game. We'll look at what Mikel Arteta's had to say. I will do my player ratings as well. So let's get stuck into what was a really, really fun night at the Emirates. Absolutely freezing cold night. I'm still freezing now from it, I think. Got home last night, and honestly, I just could not warm up. It was so cold there last night, but Arsenal were red hot on the pitch, certainly. 6 goals, 6 different goal scorers, 5-0 up at half time. It was just an absolute demolition job from Mikel Arteta's side. So good from the off. Lens just had no way of dealing with them, really, especially in that first half when Arsenal just absolutely put them to the sword. Like I said, there's been lots of discussion, hasn't there, in the build up to this game, sort of post Brentford, well, all season really, not just post Brentford, all season, about Arsenal's struggles in attack, how they're not firing on all cylinders, how they need to improve, they need to create more chances, they need to be more clinical. Well, yesterday was a prime example, and not just yesterday. I think so far in this Champions League, Arsenal have just come up against teams who, unlike in the Premier League, they're not sitting in, they're not doing what Brentford did at the weekend, or what pretty much every single team have done so far this season, and just park 10 players behind the ball. They're attacking Arsenal a little bit. They're giving Arsenal a little bit of space, and you could call that foolish. It probably is foolish, because we've seen in the Premier League, Arsenal are struggling to deal with the really, really low block. But in Europe so far, PSV came and tried to go toe-to-toe with Arsenal, got hammered 4-0. Lens last night went toe-to-toe with Arsenal, got done 6-0. Sevilla were a little bit more defensive, but even they ended up getting picked apart, losing 2-0, and it could have been more. It was just a really, really excellent night yesterday. Really lots of fun to watch. Everyone chipping in and scoring goals. And it was really interesting. The lineup yesterday, you had Havertz, Odegaard, Jesus, Martinelli, and Saka all playing to each other. You would say probably, certainly at the start of the season, that's Arsenal's or Mikel Arteta's front five. That's his preferred front five if everyone's fit. But yesterday, that was the first time they'd played a single minute together, all in the same team, starting a match together. And they went and scored 5 goals in in the first half, and all of them scored, which certainly bodes well for the future, you would hope. There was just so much to like about that Arsenal performance. From the moment Kai Havertz scored to put them ahead from Gabriel Jesus, who's not down, really good to see Havertz sort of back up that goal against Brentford, get another one, really excellent performance. I'll talk a little bit about Kai Havertz later on in the game, and I thought it was his best performance in an Arsenal shirt yesterday. You could just see the confidence coming back into him, which was really, really positive. But from the second he scored that goal, it almost just felt like a thing, how many were Arsenal going to get? It was that kind of question. It wasn't like, oh, this could be a tough night. PSV had just won in dramatic style against Sevilla, which had put a little bit more pressure on Arsenal. It kind of looked for a long time yesterday Arsenal were just going to need to draw to go through as group winners, but then PSV got that injury time goal. That meant Arsenal had to win to make sure there was no jeopardy on that final game at PSV. Would that put a bit of pressure on Arsenal? Certainly didn't show it with that performance. Just really good to see. The first goal went in, and that just set the tone for the rest of the afternoon, and it just turned into a really convincing Arsenal win. 14 shots, 8 on target, 5 of those went in. Very, 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 very clinical. Lens actually having a bit more possession than Arsenal, more passes, which again just kind of shows when teams come out and actually don't just park the bus and don't just let Arsenal have the ball and knock the ball around and try and find a way through. Arsenal can just be so thrilling, and they can just cut through teams. And we just saw that with the pace of some of their transition play and the goals. You look at the 5th goal for Martin Odegaard. Lens had that high up the pitch. Suddenly they lose it. Saka gets it and just goes. Tomiyasu on the overlap with the cross. Odegaard with the finish. You think of Martinelli's goal. Tomiyasu with that fizz ball out wide to him, suddenly bang, one-on-one against a fullback. Arsenal just relish that type of space. It's what these attacking players thrive on. And they showed last night, if you get any sort of space, then they will do damage to anyone. And yeah, if only we saw that week in, week out in the Premier League. But it was just a really fun performance from Arsenal. And one you can see that Mikel Arteta understandably was very, very happy with. It's what I'd say on the match being a game you dream of. He said, I didn't even dream like this, but we had the chance to qualify today and become top of the group, and we've done it in a really convincing way against a really good side. And I think the team right from the beginning showed a lot of aggression and determination to go for the game. Everything happened in the right way, especially in the first 30 minutes, and that was really helpful to win this game. He was asked whether the victory was a statement victory in the Champions League. He said, I think it's great we're able to win this way, but I think consistently we have shown at home not to concede any goals and to score a lot of goals, and that's a really positive factor. Those players need to have those experiences and believe that we can do it against big opponents. Now let's wait. We have to park it in February. We have to park it, and in February we'll know who we're facing, and let's see how we are in the moment. I think it's just the victory was just so important to be able to go to PSV in a couple of weeks' time and just had nothing on that game. You know, Mikel, now he was asked about it in a press conference, are you just going to rest everyone for that game? And he's like, oh, we'll wait and see how we are going into that game. I don't think he'll rest everyone, but you know, you make wholesale changes for that game. There is no risk on that game, no jeopardy on that game. You don't risk anyone, really. You know, I say he won't make wholesale changes. He potentially could make 11 changes in that game. There'll still be quite strong players out there. But I mean, why would you risk Declan Rice? Why would you risk Saliba, Gabriel, Jesus, Martinelli, Saka, all those sort of players? Why would you risk them in that game? That's what yesterday's winners allowed Mikel Arteta to go there to Holland and just do whatever he wants. And it's a really, really excellent position to be in. It's 4 years. Yesterday was 4 years. Pretty much exactly 4. It was 4 years to the day since Emery got sacked, was yesterday. And I was talking to the guy sitting next to me in the stadium last night, and they meant that the two of them were talking about the Frankfurt game. I don't know if you remember, it's when Kamada scored twice. It was the night before Emery got sacked, and Arsenal lost 2-1 to Frankfurt in basically a half-empty Emirates Stadium. It was just the most miserable of nights. They'd gone about 12 games without a win or whatever it was at that point. They were just losing games non-stop. Fans weren't turning up, and it was just a horrible night, that Frankfurt night, a really, really horrible night that anyone who was there will remember how low the club felt, how poor the club felt and broken the club felt. And then just to wind the clock forward exactly 4 years to last night, to seeing this vibrant stadium for a team who are top of the Premier League, who are going through as group winners with a game to spare in the Champions League, with the likes of Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, Odegaard just ripping it up. I was just standing there thinking, Arsenal, they've come such a long way in just 4 years. And it kept going through my mind last night, thinking about that and thinking about that Frankfurt game. And it's just a really nice place to be. It's a nice place to be as an Arsenal fan, to see where the club is now and the way they're moving and the direction they're moving and the players they've got and how united everyone is. It was I couldn't get that out of my head last night. On the win and the sort of attacking prowess that Arsenal played with last night, Mikel was asked about the confidence that result can give the players. And he said with him, Saka and everybody, Gabriel Jesus as well, in tremendous form in the Champions League. Today we shared 6 different goal scorers. So that's great for the team that it has that capacity. Kai scored 2 goals in 2 games. That's really good for the confidence of the players. He was asked about Havertz scoring twice in a row. He said, yes, scoring goals, playing well, participating in those wins. Those are the positive attributes. You've seen the reception of the teammates, the crowd singing his name and being with him in every positive action he's had. Those are the good things that are going to help him show why he's a tremendous player. He was then asked if that midfield 3 of Rice, Odegaard and Havertz was his ideal first choice. He said, well, I think we have other options. And in relation to the opponents we are facing, we have. Today, we were really attacking because we played with Alex as well in the back line. And we needed it because we wanted to approach the game to win it and be very dominant from the beginning. And I think we've achieved that. Fair play to Kai Havertz. I thought that was his best game in an Arsenal shirt yesterday. Obviously, he came on, had his big moment against Brentford, but he'd only been on the pitch for 10 minutes. He started yesterday, and I thought he was really influential throughout. Obviously, he got the first goal, which sort of set the ball rolling. I thought he was really good for the third goal when he won the ball in midfield, drove forward, played the ball to Jesus, who obviously had the shot, and then Saka scored. there was just a lot of intensity and drive about Havertz throughout the game yesterday. He was getting in good positions. He was getting himself on the ball. He was wanting the ball when he was on it. He was protecting it. That bit in the second half when he was down in front of the North Bank, he did some really nice skill over in the corner, drove into the box and set up a good chance for Odegaard. That's the sort of thing you want to see from Kai Havertz. And I thought it was a really positive performance from him last night, making things happen and setting the tone, which is the crucial thing as well. So fingers crossed things are going in the right direction for him. And just as an attacking unit, Arsenal just looked so much better yesterday. You know, Jesus, Martinelli, Saka obviously not having that much space in the Premier League. When they have the space they had last night, they can just be so destructive, score so many goals. I mean, for Jesus now, that's 4 goals in 4 games in the Champions League this season. What a fantastic start to the campaign it's been for him. Bukayo Saka now is the leading player in the Champions League group stages in terms of goal contributions. 7 goal contributions he's got now in the group stage. I think it's 4 goals and 3 assists, or 3 goals and 4 assists. I think this is a player who's never played in the Champions League before, and he's just hit the ground running in this competition and taken to it like a duck to water. It just says an awful lot about him and his quality and how good Arsenal are, and how these young players just, there's no fear. They haven't gone to the Champions League and been sort of taken aback by the occasion and the sort of spectacle of all. They've just hit the ground running. Same for Martinelli, and it's really, really good. I thought it was really nice that Odegaard scored that 5th goal as well. Important for him. I think you could see there was a little bit of relief in his celebration. Brilliant goal, by the way. Fantastic finish from Odegaard, but the move that led to it was excellent as well. And you know, Mikel talks about the confidence there, and you would hope that really does give them the confidence going into this weekend's game against Wolves. The issue is they're playing Wolves, and we know Wolves are very, very good defensively. They're very tight. They don't give much away. That's what been the bedrock of their success over the last few years since they've come into the Premier League. They've had different managers, but they've all stuck with this, very sort of defensive setup and then hit on the counter. So Arsenal are not going to have the type of space at the weekend that they had last night. That's obvious. You know, Wolves and anyone in the Premier League will look at what Arsenal did yesterday and be like, that's why we don't go to the Emirates and open up. That's why we play like Brentford played at the weekend. So Arsenal are going to have to deal tactically very, very differently at the weekend with what Wolves are going to offer than what Lons offered last night. But so I think that's, I said to my dad during the game yesterday, I was like, you just got to enjoy this sort of thing, because you know at the weekend it's not going to happen. It's going to be a completely different game. And that first half was special. I did say to my dad at half time, I was like, I don't think we'll score. I think it'll be 5-0 full time. You could just tell the second half was going to go the way it did. You're never going to play with that sort of intensity again. You're not going to push yourself. You don't need to. You know, Mikel made some changes at half time. He swapped the fullbacks, which I could understand him doing. I was hoping to see Wanyeri or Miles Lewis-Skelly come on, and I sort of looked at it. I was like, oh, do you really need to be bringing on Reece Nelson or Eddie Nketiah or Jorginho in this game when it's 5-0 and the job's done? Could you have played someone else? But then I suppose those players, they still want their minutes. They still need their minutes. They are the senior players. You would look at that PSV game coming up when there's nothing on that and think that's probably a better opportunity for some of the youngsters to come on in the second half, because the likes of Nelson and Nketiah, those sort of players you think would start the game at PSV, and then the substitutes in the second half could be some youngsters where we could see some debuts coming into it. Jesus got man of the match. I will go through my player ratings in a minute to end today's show. I just loved what I saw from Jesus. I've loved what I've seen from Jesus in the Champions League all season. You know, the intensity he plays with, the quality he plays with. I loved his finish, the little touch. I mean, Saka was brilliant for it. Eventually getting the ball out to him, sort of the hard work that Saka put in to create that opportunity. But the finish, how calm Jesus was in front of goal was really, really good. And he's just been so impressive in the Champions League this season. You could have given man of the match, and I will go through my player ratings. Could have given man of the match to about 3 or 4 players yesterday, but it was good to see Jesus get it. I thought he did thoroughly deserve it as well. Just a really, really good performance from a player who I'm convinced. I said at the start of the season, I thought he was going to be the main man this season, and he was the guy who was going to fly. I thought he would score more than 20 goals this season, sort of 20, 25 goals, and I'm still sticking to that right now. And I'm convinced he's going to have a proper little purple patch very, very soon. Okay, so player ratings, obviously going to be very, very high. I got my predicted 11 right yesterday, which I was very, very happy with. Not the hardest predicted 11 to predict, though. I have to say, I thought it was pretty obvious what the team was going to be, providing everyone was fit and no one had any sort of issues in training that we didn't know about. But he, of course, went with Tomiyasu, Saliba, Gabriel and Zinchenko as a back four. Then you had Rice, Odegaard, Havertz and Saka, Jesus and Martinelli up front, with David Raya coming in goal. David Raya, very solid game for David Raya. Didn't obviously have too much to do in terms of saves, but everything he did do, he did very, very well. His distribution was excellent, played some really lovely passes through the lines, gathered the ball when crosses came in very, very well. His handling was really safe. It was just a really, really good performance from David Raya. I gave him a 7. Tomiyasu, when I say lots of people could be named man of the match for this game, Tommy really could have been. I mean, he only played 45 minutes, but he was excellent, Tomiyasu. So impressive down that right-hand side. Contributed heavily to 2 goals. Got the assist for Odegaard. Got the assist for Martinelli. 2 brilliant assists as well. I mean, I'm convinced he meant that for Martinelli. People are like, oh, did he mean that? Was he just clearing it? I think he's drilling that ball out wide to Martinelli. He knows Martinelli's there. I mean, everyone knows Martinelli's there. That's what he does. He hugs the touchline. And I think it was a really good ball, clever ball from Tomiyasu. So I gave Tomiyasu an 8. Excellent performance. Saliba, I'll give a 7. Had a little bit of trouble early on. A couple of times Saliba got done, which is when it's Saliba getting done, you kind of, it takes you back. It really catches your attention because he very, very rarely gets spun and the player gets in behind him. But it happened on a couple of occasions yesterday. Didn't lead to anything, and he got back, used that pace to get back and cover the situation very, very well. But it was just whenever Saliba gets turned, you're like, wow, someone's actually turned Saliba. Because it's just such a surprise because it happens so. It just really doesn't happen very often at all, does it? So I gave Saliba a 7. Gabriel, I gave an 8. I thought Gabriel was really, really good. I loved the moment in the second half at 6-0, the last couple of minutes when they had a shot and Gabriel just threw himself in front of it and blocked it and then just celebrated in front of the clock end like he'd scored a goal. You know, he wanted that clean sheet. It was 6-0. The desire to just keep that clean sheet was just so apparent from him in that celebration. And a lot of people would have switched off, game over at that point. You're just already thinking about getting in the warm on a freezing cold night, getting showered and going home. But he was just determined to keep that clean sheet, and he showed it in that celebration. I thought he was excellent, Gabriel. So I gave him an 8. Zinchenko, I gave a 7. Odegaard, I gave a 7. Really good to see him get his goal. Odegaard, lovely finish as well. He made that look so much easier than it was, that finish. So Odegaard gets a 7. Declan Rice, another really excellent display from Declan Rice. Going to give him a 8. Kai Havertz gets an 8 from me as well. Set the ball rolling with that goal. Like I said, I think it was his best performance in an Arsenal shirt. Lots of intensity about him. Driving forward when he could, making things happen, wanting the ball. Thought it was a really good, positive performance from Kai Havertz. So gave him an 8. Saka gets an 8. 7 goal contributions now for Saka in this Champions League campaign so far. Just remarkable stuff. What did he do? It was his 5-year anniversary from his debut, leading up to this game, from that game in Ukraine when he played under Emery in the Europa League. 5 years, look at what he's become. It's just a remarkable talent, and he just does it week in, week out. And fabulous again from Saka. I gave him an 8. Martinelli gave a 7. I gave to Martinelli, which is probably a little bit harsh. Maybe deserved an 8. Took his goal so well. Gabby caused lots of problems. Actually, no, I'm giving Gabby Martinelli. He's getting bumped. He's an 8 as well. Gabriel Martinelli, of course, he's set up. No, he didn't. Did he? I was going to say he set up Saka's goal. It was his shot that was saved that hit Saka, but I think it was Jesus, wasn't it? It wasn't Martinelli. So yeah, he gets an 8 and Jesus gets an 8. And I'm going to give Jesus my man of the match as well. Just like UEFA did. I think it could have been anyone. It could have been Tomiyasu. He only played 45 minutes, which is probably the only reason I'm not giving it to Tomiyasu, because I thought he had a really good first half. Could have been Saka, could have been Jesus, Havertz, Martinelli, whoever. But I'm going to give it to Jesus. Subs came on. Ben White and Kivior came on at halftime. I really like Jakub Kivior. I really, really do. Every time I see him play, I think he looks like a really top player, top defender, top talent. Can play left back, centre back. Technically really, really good. So I really like Kivior. I gave him and Ben White get 7s. Jorginho got the penalty to round things off at the end. Came on late on. Nelson was quite bright when he played. Eddie didn't really get involved in the game too much. But in terms of the subs, I'll only really mark White and Kivior because they were on for a large period of time. So they both get a 7 as well. All right, that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Whatever you've heard or agreed with, you want to share your opinion on what you saw last night, what that could mean for the weekend, who played well, who impressed you, who should stay in the team. Let me know anything like that in the comments below. Myself and James Benge will be getting together a little bit later on today to record Inside Arsenal Extra Time, where we'll be talking at length, I imagine, about what happened last night, what it could mean for the weekend. We'll preview Wolves, of course. Any questions you want or anything you want us to discuss in that show, please do let me know. Again, leave the comments below. Start it with Extra Time and then leave your comments below to get involved in that one. But until then, enjoy wherever you are around the world. Enjoy your Thursday. And then, I'll be back tomorrow to talk all things Arsenal once again as we head towards that big game against Wolves at the weekend. Have a great day, everyone. Speak to you soon.